Thank you for being here today and for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Jill Olish. I am a first-time mom and entrepreneur. I became both a mom and entrepreneur at the same time during the COVID-19 pandemic. In spite of experiencing postpartum anxiety, depression, and rage, I am creating a life and business that is fulfilling and meaningful while being living proof for all moms that living out your dream life is possible. I founded my business, Mama Outspoken, to help moms find their voices and be heard, to advocate for themselves, and to spread awareness for motherhood transitions. I wrote my book, Mama Outspoken, A Mom's Journey of Healing Through a Pandemic, Pregnancy, Birth Trauma, Postpartum Anxiety, Depression, and Rage, after reaching out for help from my friend Sonia Murdoch from the Postpartum Resource Center of New York, just in the first few weeks after having had my son. After I had gotten the help I needed, we talked about sharing my experience, and I went on to share my story at a few events with the PRCNY just that year, and have done since. I did think then at the time that I'd write a portion of my story into a pamphlet, and 4 years later I have gone beyond that and wrote a whole dang book. So I believe that this book is an insight into the life and thoughts of a new mother who is lost and suffering and has started on her healing journey. I also asked my husband Bobby to contribute some of his perspective. In this book, you'll find throughout my story his words, because we had originally thought he'd have a whole chapter, but found so much more power in his words next to mine, so they are sprinkled throughout to get both perspectives side by side. I wanted to write a book that could be shared and passed on to those who would be most impacted by it, rather than be held on to. This book isn't just for moms, nor moms in their postpartum season, but it's for any person who knows a mom, a dad, or a grandparent, or wants to become one. This book is for those who want to be a part of a village. So my book covers my pregnancy, which I absolutely hated. It was a textbook pregnancy, so it went perfectly and smoothly, but I was isolated during the pandemic. I was not able to see family for the most part, and I felt like I was carrying something completely foreign inside of my body. It ended up being that I ended up not having a bond with my son until he was about 18 months old, as what it felt like to me. So my story shares that in very vivid description, as well as what it was like to go through labor and delivery in a hospital that had just lifted their spouse restriction the same week that I went into labor. It experienced very traumatizing labor and delivery for my husband, because he had seen a flight or flight response that he had never seen before come from me, so there's details about that as well. And the beautiful story of me finally having a bond with my son. I did experience postpartum depression, anxiety, and rage, and there are the ups and downs that I went through, along with the scary times that my son and my husband both experienced. And on the flip side, we show a lot of healing that has taken place as well. I am so grateful to my husband in my story, because he recognized a cyclical pattern to my rage in the very early months, and we were able to start tracking it, and I was able to be more self-aware and find healing through my self-awareness and through self-care. And then there is a huge part of my story that is based around my faith, both from where I started, where I went in the middle, and how I ended up at the end. My story, of course, is ongoing, because healing never ends, and we don't know what happens with baby number 2 possibly coming up. So there is a to be continued at the end of my story. But why do I care, and why did I write this book? Because I did not get the help that I needed. One, from a village, which I could have if maybe we weren't in a pandemic. 2, the providers I looked into for help did not give me what I needed. So I needed to be able to advocate for others and help others know how to advocate for themselves. My biggest regret is not hiring a doula for this time, and that is something that is talked about in my book, what a doula is and how they are helpful. And I very prominently say that I will be getting one if I do have a second child at this point. And I find that it's super important for us to advocate for ourselves, especially as mothers or as spouses to women who will be giving birth, because this environment really needs to have a village behind those moms. So how can you be a support? And I hope that is throughout the message in my book as well. But like I said, this book was meant to be shared. So sharing a story of another mom, or if you are a mom or have a family member who has been through a birth and labor and delivery, to share that story, because the more we share, the more others will share. So my book, I hope, can be shared by whoever is interested in this and knows someone. But also, I challenge you listening today with a question to ask a mom. Ask them, how are you? They don't usually get that question. It's usually the baby. How's the baby? So ask a mom how she is doing. But you can connect with me and further your advocacy as well through many different things. I'm Ambassador for Mom. I am the founder and leader of Mama Outspoken Village, a published author, obviously. I host 2 podcasts, the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast, as well as the Mama Outspoken podcast with my husband, Bobby. I am the host of a vision board party, a summit leader, an associate producer, as well as a roving reporter with a live stream for the Good Morning Entrepreneurs live stream, and I have a segment for Mama Entrepreneurs. So that is my book, and I hope that you enjoyed the rest of this time with everybody here today. Thank you so much for having me.